Zexthuri adjusted his breathing apparatus as the shuttle docked with the human research vessel Meridian's Edge. The Valonian diplomat had studied 17 different species during his career with the Galactic Council, but humans remained largely unknown. His task was simple enough: observe their behavior, document their capabilities, and file a standard integration report. Most species followed predictable patterns during first contact protocols. The airlock opened with a soft hiss, and Zexthuri stepped into what appeared to be a standard ship corridor. Clean metal walls lined with soft blue lighting created an almost comfortable atmosphere. Nothing remarkable caught his attention until a human approached with an extended hand. "Welcome aboard," said Captain Jake Morrison with a smile that revealed white teeth. "I hope the journey wasn't too rough." Zexthuri had read about the human gesture called handshaking, but experiencing it felt different than expected. Morrison's grip was firm but not crushing, lasting exactly the right amount of time before releasing. The captain's eyes made direct contact throughout the exchange, something many species found aggressive but humans apparently considered respectful. "Your hospitality is appreciated, Captain Morrison," Zexthuri replied through his translation device. "I look forward to learning about your people." Morrison led him through the ship's corridors, pointing out various sections with genuine enthusiasm. The crew members they passed all offered polite greetings, some stopping their work entirely to welcome the alien visitor. Zexthuri noted how humans seemed naturally social. Unlike the more reserved Quarthic or territorial Bruthan species he had studied previously, Dr. Lisa Hayes met them in the main laboratory, a spacious room filled with equipment Zexthuri didn't recognize. She was a small woman with dark hair pulled back in a practical style, wearing a simple white coat over casual clothing. "We're excited to share our research with the galactic community," Dr. Hayes said as she activated several display screens. "These show our work in atmospheric processing, genetic agriculture, and sustainable energy systems." The technology appeared competent but unremarkable compared to what Zexthuri had seen from other developing species. Humans had clearly mastered their basic needs for survival and expansion, but showed no obvious advantages over established galactic civilizations. Their atmospheric processors worked efficiently but used older design principles. Their energy systems were clean and stable but generated modest output levels. "Very impressive for a young species," Zexthuri commented diplomatically. "How long have you been working on these projects?" "About 50 years for the atmospheric work," Dr. Hayes replied. "We learned early that terraforming requires patience and careful planning." Commander Ryan Blake joined them next, a tall man with gray hair and steady eyes. He wore what appeared to be a military uniform but carried no visible weapons. When Zexthuri asked about human defense capabilities, Blake seemed almost embarrassed. "We maintain security forces for basic protection," Blake explained as they walked toward the ship's command center. "Nothing too sophisticated compared to what I'm sure other species have developed." The command center looked functional but not particularly advanced. Crew members worked at various stations, monitoring displays, and coordinating ship operations. Everything appeared calm and organized, with none of the militaristic tensions Zexthuri expected from a species that had recently achieved space travel. Blake showed him tactical displays that mapped the local system, including the human colony. On Kepler 442b, the settlement housed roughly 12,000 people in what looked like a standard colonial arrangement. Residential areas surrounded central facilities for agriculture, manufacturing, and administration. "We focus mainly on exploration and research," Blake continued. "Our people prefer peaceful development over territorial expansion." That evening, Zexthuri was invited to visit the colony's surface. The shuttle descent gave him his first direct view of human civilization beyond their ships. The settlement spread across a green valley with buildings that seemed designed to blend into the natural landscape rather than dominate it. Children played in open parks, while adults tended gardens and maintained equipment. Families like the Carters gathered for evening meals, their conversations mixing work concerns with personal matters in ways that seemed genuinely affectionate. The Brooks family invited Zexthuri to observe their daily routines, showing him how they educated their young and cared for their elderly. "Community is important to us," explained Mary Carter as she prepared dinner for her family and the alien guest. We believe taking care of each other makes everyone stronger. The cultural exchange dinner took place in the colony's main hall, with representatives from various human professions sharing traditional foods and stories. When conversation turned to human history, Zex3 asked about their pre-space conflicts. General Patricia Stone, an older woman with silver hair and kind eyes, spoke carefully about humanity's past. "We had our share of disagreements," she said, "but we learned that cooperation achieves more than conflict." She mentioned something called the Unity Accords that had apparently ended humanity's last major war, but provided few details. Other humans at the table nodded agreement when she spoke about learning from past mistakes and choosing better paths forward. Zex3 found their reluctance to discuss military history interesting but not concerning. Most species preferred not to dwell on their violent pasts once they achieved interstellar capabilities. The evening ended with human children performing traditional songs, their voices filling the hall with simple melodies about friendship and exploration. As he prepared his initial report that night, Zex3 concluded that humans appeared to be a cooperative, family-oriented species with limited military potential and strong social bonds. They seemed well suited for integration into the galactic community as researchers, traders, or cultural ambassadors. Nothing he had observed suggested they would significantly impact the existing balance of power among established civilizations. 3 weeks had passed since Zex3's arrival, and he had settled into a comfortable routine of observation and documentation. The humans continued their daily activities with the same peaceful efficiency he had noted during his first days. Aboard the Meridian's Edge, Dr. Hayes shared her latest research findings each morning while Captain Morrison discussed colonial development plans over meals that had become surprisingly enjoyable social events. The alarm that shattered the morning calm on day 22 was unlike anything Zex3 had heard before. Instead of the gentle chimes used for routine notifications, this sound cut through the ship's atmosphere like a blade. Every human within sight immediately stopped what they were doing, their casual expressions replaced by something the alien observer couldn't quite identify. "All hands to stations," Captain Morrison's voice echoed through the ship's communication system, but the tone was completely different from his usual warm manner. The words came out crisp and mechanical, carrying an authority that made Zex3's scales prickle with unexpected tension. The transformation was immediate and startling. Dr. Hayes abandoned her research equipment mid-sentence and moved toward what Zex3 discovered was a combat information station. Her gentle demeanor had vanished, replaced by focused intensity as she began accessing tactical databases with practiced efficiency. "What's happening?" Zex3 asked a passing crew member, but the young man barely glanced in his direction as he hurried past carrying equipment the alien didn't recognize. Commander Blake appeared at Zex3's side, his earlier friendly manner replaced by professional urgency. "Distress signal from the outer system," he explained briefly. "Civilian transport under attack." The main display screen activated to show a three-dimensional map of the local star system. A pulsing red dot marked the location of the emergency, while blue indicators showed the positions of various human vessels. Zex3 watched as those blue dots began moving with coordinated purpose toward the distress signal. "Transport vessel New Horizon reports Ravager pirate attack," announced Lieutenant Collins from the communications station. 847 souls aboard, including children. The mention of children seemed to trigger something in every human present. Zex3 had studied enough species to recognize predatory focus when he saw it, but he had never expected to observe such behavior from the peaceful humans he had been documenting for weeks. Captain Morrison stood at the center of the command center, no longer the pleasant host who had welcomed Zex3 aboard. His eyes moved across the tactical displays with cold calculation as he processed information from multiple sources simultaneously. "Time to intercept," Morrison asked. 18 hours at maximum burn," replied the navigation officer. "Signal the Phoenix Dawn and Retribution's Edge," Morrison ordered. "Full combat loadout and prepare for extended operations." Zex3 felt confusion mixing with growing unease as he watched the humans coordinate their response. In his experience, civilized species typically approached piracy incidents with careful diplomatic considerations and measured military responses. The speed and decisiveness of human reaction suggested Something quite different, even more disturbing, was how civilian personnel were responding to the emergency. Danny Cooper, who ran a small shop in the colony's commercial district, appeared in the command center wearing what looked like military equipment. Kate Miller, a teacher X3, had observed reading stories to young children, was now consulting tactical displays with the same focused attention she had previously given to lesson plans. "Request permission to accompany the rescue mission," X3 said to Commander Blake, as a Galactic Council observer. He had the right to witness human military operations, though he expected to document a routine anti-piracy action similar to those conducted by other member species. Blake's response came with a smile that somehow managed to be both amused and predatory. "Granted, but you might want to reconsider." "Why would I reconsider?" "Because you're about to see something that might change your opinion of us." The preparation phase revealed aspects of human behavior that challenged everything X3 thought he understood about this species. Lieutenant Colonel Amy Watson briefed response teams with clinical precision, outlining mission parameters that seemed far more comprehensive than simple pirate interdiction. "Primary objective is civilian rescue," Watson announced to the assembled personnel. "Secondary objective is threat elimination. Tertiary objective is intelligence gathering for follow-up operations." The mention of follow-up operations struck X3 as unusual. Most species dealt with piracy through immediate response followed by increased patrol schedules. Humans, apparently, had more extensive plans in mind. What truly unsettled the alien observer was the way humans shifted between their normal social behavior and this new focused intensity. Mary Carter, who had invited him to family dinners and shared stories about her children's accomplishments, was now coordinating supply logistics for what she referred to as extended combat operations, with the same maternal efficiency she brought to household management. The weaponry being loaded onto the rescue vessels was another surprise. X3 had assumed humans possessed basic defensive capabilities, but the equipment he observed suggested far more sophisticated military technology than their peaceful reputation indicated. Weapon systems, armor suits, and tactical gear moved through the ship's corridors with practiced efficiency. "How long have you been preparing for something like this?" X3 asked Dr. Hayes as she supervised the installation of additional sensor equipment. "We're always prepared," she replied without looking up from her work. "Hope for peace, plan for war." The phrase seemed to capture something essential about human nature that X3 had missed during his previous observations. These people maintained their peaceful, family-oriented society while simultaneously preparing for violent conflict with thoroughness that suggested considerable experience. As the Phoenix Dawn prepared for departure, X3 found himself questioning his initial assessment of human capabilities. The transformation he had witnessed was too complete and too coordinated to be improvised. Every person knew exactly what to do, every system activated smoothly, and every piece of equipment was exactly where it needed to be. Captain Morrison approached him before boarding. "Last chance to stay behind," he offered. "What we're going to do isn't going to match your expectations." "What exactly are you going to do?" Morrison's expression became something the alien observer would remember for the rest of his life. "We're going to solve a problem," the simple words carried implications that made X3's breathing apparatus work harder. He realized that his peaceful, cooperative subjects had been showing him only one side of their nature. The question now was whether he was prepared to witness the other side. The journey to the outer system aboard the Phoenix Dawn took 18 hours, during which X3 observed preparations that fundamentally changed his understanding of human nature. The crew moved through their tasks with mechanical precision, but what struck him most was how they approached violence as if it were another technical problem requiring systematic solution. Sergeant Alex Turner sat in the weapons bay, methodically cleaning his rifle with movements that bordered on ritualistic. Each component was inspected, cleaned, and reassembled with careful attention to detail. When X3 asked about the process, Turner looked up with eyes that seemed far older than his apparent age. "Weapon maintenance isn't just about function," Turner explained as he continued his work. "It's about respect for the tools that keep you and your people alive." The way Turner spoke about his weapon suggested a relationship X3 found disturbing. This wasn't simply equipment maintenance, but something approaching religious devotion. The human handled each piece as if it were a sacred object, speaking about its capabilities with the kind of reverence other species reserved for discussing their deities. Pilot Nancy Rodriguez spent her time running flight simulations that made Zex-3's stomach turn. Her scenarios included casualty projections, collateral damage assessments, and tactical maneuvers that prioritized mission success over individual survival. She calculated acceptable loss rates with the same calm efficiency other pilots used for navigation planning. The key is understanding that some choices require sacrifice, Rodriguez explained when she noticed his discomfort. We accept that reality so civilians don't have to. Medical officer Carlos Martinez prepared treatment stations that revealed another aspect of human military thinking. Along with standard trauma equipment, he organized supplies for what he euphemistically called information extraction procedures with casual professionalism that chilled Zex-3's blood. Pirates who attack civilians forfeit certain considerations, Martinez said as he checked his supplies. We need to know about their organization, their plans, and their weaknesses the clinical way. Martinez discussed enhanced interrogation techniques suggested humans had given considerable thought to systematically extracting information from unwilling subjects. He spoke about pain thresholds, psychological pressure points, and pharmaceutical assistance with the detached interest of a researcher discussing laboratory procedures. Most disturbing was the conversation Zex-3 overheard between Commander Blake and Weapons Officer Julie Banks. They referenced something called Protocol 7 with tones that mixed professional respect with barely contained anger. Confirmed civilian casualties, including children, Banks reported as she reviewed intelligence data. Recommend implementation of Protocol 7 upon target engagement. Approved, Blake replied. Full authorization for extended operations. When Zex-3 asked about Protocol 7, Blake's explanation was simple but loaded with implications. When they hurt our children, we don't just fight back. We make sure it never happens again. The tactical briefing revealed the true scope of human military thinking, and Zex-3 realized he had completely misunderstood this species' capabilities. Major Steve Collins presented intelligence that went far beyond the immediate rescue mission, displaying detailed information about Ravager pirate operations across multiple star systems. Target vessel Bone Crusher confirmed as part of Clan Bloodfang. Collins announced as holographic displays showed ship configurations, crew complements, and tactical assessments. Intelligence indicates 19 associated vessels operating from asteroid base designated Charnel Station. The humans had apparently identified not just the attacking ships, but traced connections to supply chains, communication networks, and base facilities throughout the sector. Their intelligence gathering revealed organizational structures, leadership hierarchies, and operational patterns that suggested months or years of careful observation. Primary mission remains civilian rescue, Collins continued. However, we have authorization for comprehensive response targeting the entire Bloodfang network. Zex-3 felt his scales shift as he realized the humans weren't planning a simple rescue operation. They intended to systematically dismantle an entire pirate organization, treating the current attack as justification for what amounted to military campaign against every Ravager connected to the incident. Commander Blake noticed his reaction and provided clarification that only made things worse. Allowing pirates to attack civilians with impunity encouraged similar attacks, he explained with calm logic. We removed that encouragement permanently. The weapon systems aboard Phoenix Dawn were revealed during final preparations, and Zex-3 discovered that human defensive capabilities had been grossly underestimated. Concealed weapon batteries emerged from seemingly innocent hull sections, while torpedo tubes loaded ordnance designed for ship-to-ship combat. We prefer not to advertise our military assets, Blake explained as hidden armor. Plating slid into position around critical systems. Peaceful intentions don't require peaceful capabilities. Captain Susan White briefed her fighter squadron with tactical precision that demonstrated extensive combat experience. Her pilots received target assignments, engagement protocols, and contingency plans with professional acknowledgement that suggested this wasn't their first military operation. Remember, we're not just rescuing civilians today, White told her pilots. We're sending a message to every pirate organization in the sector. The implications of that message became clear as Zex-3 reviewed the mission parameters. Humans intended to document every aspect of the engagement, recording Ravager tactical methods, organizational structures, and technological capabilities for future reference. They planned to study their enemies as thoroughly as they studied atmospheric processing or genetic agriculture. Lieutenant Pete Johnson's boarding team prepared equipment that went far beyond standard rescue gear. Along with medical supplies and evacuation tools, they carried devices for accessing computer systems, analyzing alien technology, and conducting battlefield interrogations. "Information is ammunition," Johnson explained as he checked his gear. "Every piece of data we collect makes the next operation more efficient." The casual way Johnson spoke about future operations confirmed what Zex-3 was beginning to understand. This rescue mission was part of a larger strategic approach to eliminating piracy through systematic application of superior force and intelligence gathering. As they approached the target system, Zex-3 realized that his peaceful, family-oriented subjects had been preparing for war while maintaining the appearance of civilian researchers. Every human aboard Phoenix Dawn moved with practiced coordination that suggested extensive training and experience. In military operations, the most unsettling aspect was how they approached violence as a technical problem requiring efficient solutions, rather than an unfortunate necessity. They planned to rescue civilians, eliminate threats, gather intelligence, and send strategic messages with the same methodical approach they brought to terraforming projects. The battle began unlike anything in Zex-3's experience with galactic warfare. Most species he had observed approached combat with established honor codes, ritualistic challenges, or at least warning declarations. Humans simply appeared in the target system and began systematically dismantling their enemies with calculated precision that suggested extensive planning. Captain Susan White's fighter squadron emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, immediately executing maneuvers that demonstrated intimate knowledge of Ravager tactical doctrine. Instead of engaging in traditional dogfighting, they targeted specific ship systems based on detailed analysis of pirate psychology and operational requirements. "Target their communication arrays first," White ordered over the tactical channel. "Isolated enemies make predictable decisions." Zex-3 watched from the Phoenix Dawn's command center as human fighters ignored obvious weapon systems to focus on seemingly less critical targets. They severed communication links between pirate vessels, disabled sensor networks, and eliminated escape route options with surgical precision that left Ravager crews confused and increasingly desperate. The pirates responded exactly as the humans had predicted. Without coordination between their ships, individual captains began making increasingly aggressive attacks that played directly into human tactical advantages. What appeared to be human vulnerabilities were actually carefully constructed traps that drew Ravager forces into predetermined kill zones. "Pirates are basically bullies," Commander Blake explained as he watched the tactical display. "Remove their advantages and they become predictably irrational." When the Phoenix Dawn moved to engage the main pirate vessel, Zex-3 expected to witness a conventional ship-to-ship battle. Instead, he observed something approaching scientific dissection as human weapons systematically disabled specific systems while leaving others operational for strategic purposes. "Disable their weapons but leave life support functional," ordered Weapons Officer Banks. "We need survivors for interrogation." The precision required to selectively disable enemy systems, while preserving crew survival capabilities, demonstrated technological superiority that the pirates clearly hadn't anticipated. Ravager vessels designed for overwhelming civilian targets found themselves outmatched by military systems they had never encountered. Sergeant Pete Johnson's boarding operation revealed another aspect of human warfare that challenged Zex-3's understanding of civilized conflict. The boarding team didn't simply secure the pirate vessel through superior firepower. They moved through the ship with tactical awareness that suggested detailed knowledge of Ravager ship layouts and crew deployment patterns. "Engineering section secured," Johnson reported as his team systematically cleared compartments, accessing main computer systems now. While half the boarding team established perimeter security, the other half immediately began extracting data from every computer terminal they encountered. They downloaded navigation logs, communication records, and operational databases with efficiency that suggested previous experience with Ravager. Technology. The rescued civilians revealed the true scope of pirate brutality and explained human fury. Among the passengers were families returning from a colonial trade mission, including children as young as 3 years old who had been terrorized by Ravager threats of slavery and worse. Chief Petty Officer Linda Ross coordinated civilian evacuation. With the same gentle efficiency X3 had observed in human-family interactions. She spoke softly to traumatized children while ensuring their parents received medical attention and psychological support. "You're safe now," Ross told a young girl who clung to her mother. "The bad people can't hurt you anymore," but X3 noticed that Ross's treatment of captured pirates was coldly professional. She processed prisoners with systematic efficiency, extracting maximum intelligence through methods that balance psychological pressure with time constraints. Ravager organizational structure indicates 17 ship crews operating under Clan Bloodfang, Ross reported after questioning the pirate captain. Staging area confirmed at Charnel Station with approximately 400 personnel. The interrogation techniques Ross employed were disturbing in their effectiveness. She didn't rely on physical torture but instead used detailed knowledge of Ravager psychology to break down mental resistance through carefully applied social and emotional pressures. Most unsettling was how humans coordinated the entire operation. They seemed to share an almost telepathic understanding of each other's intentions, moving as a unified organism rather than individual soldiers following orders. When technical specialist Ben Clark needed specific data from the pirate ships, computers, Johnson's team provided access without any apparent communication. "How do you coordinate so effectively without constant communication?" X3 asked Commander Blake. "Shared training, shared values, shared understanding of objectives," Blake replied. "When everyone knows what needs to be done, individual initiative becomes collective action." The rescue operation concluded with systematic documentation of everything humans had learned about Ravager capabilities, tactics, and organization. They cataloged weapon systems, analyzed ship designs, and evaluated crew training levels with scientific thoroughness. Medical Officer Martinez treated wounded pirates with clinical professionalism while simultaneously gathering biological data for future reference. He collected tissue samples, documented physical capabilities, and analyzed psychological responses with research methodology that made X3 uncomfortable. "Understanding our enemies makes future encounters more efficient," Martinez explained as he worked. "Every piece of information saves human lives." The civilians were safely transferred to the Phoenix Dawn within 3 hours of first contact, but the human response didn't end with successful rescue. Instead, X3 watched as they continued, gathering intelligence, analyzing captured equipment, and planning follow-up operations. "Mission Phase 1 complete," Captain Morrison announced. "All civilians secure and receiving care." When X3 asked about Phase 2, Morrison's smile carried implications that made the alien observer's breathing apparatus work harder. "Phase 2 is making sure this never happens again." The most chilling moment came when human forces discovered evidence of previous Ravager attacks on civilian vessels from dozens of different species. The reaction was immediate and unanimous as crew members examined recordings of atrocities committed against families similar to those they had just rescued. The humans' faces became masks of cold determination as they realized the scope of Ravager operations. What had begun as a rescue mission was transforming into something approaching a holy war, with every human aboard the Phoenix Dawn united in purpose that transcended individual survival. "How many innocents have they killed?" asked Dr. Hayes as she reviewed the evidence. "Too many," Morrison replied. But no more. X3 realized that humans possessed a capacity for sustained, organized violence that most galactic species couldn't comprehend. They approached warfare as another technical problem requiring systematic solution, and they had apparently decided that the Ravager problem required permanent resolution. The rescued civilians were safe, but the real terror was just beginning. What happened next transformed X3's understanding of humanity forever. Rather than returning home after the successful civilian rescue, the human fleet continued toward coordinates extracted from captured Ravager navigation systems. The alien observer expected to witness a straightforward military assault on the pirate base, But what unfolded was something approaching systematic extermination. Admiral Grace Murphy assumed command of the expanded fleet from the flagship Retribution, coordinating multiple vessels with the same calm efficiency she might bring to organizing a research expedition. The humans had summoned additional ships from across their territory, creating a combined force that dwarfed anything Zexthri had imagined they possessed. Charnel Station confirmed at grid coordinates 77 Alpha, announced the navigation officer. Asteroid base with approximately 400 Ravager personnel and supporting infrastructure. The tactical display revealed an installation built into a large asteroid, with docking facilities for multiple ships and weapon emplacements designed to repel conventional attacks. For most galactic species, assaulting such a fortified position would require careful planning and acceptance of significant casualties. Humans approached the problem differently. Instead of launching an immediate assault, they spent 2 days systematically studying the target while positioning their forces to eliminate every possible escape route. They analyzed traffic patterns, communication protocols, and defensive capabilities with research methodology that treated warfare as an academic exercise. Begin Phase 1, Admiral Murphy ordered as human ships moved into predetermined positions around the asteroid field. Technical Specialist Ben Clark initiated electronic warfare operations that demonstrated capabilities Zexthri hadn't suspected humans possessed. Within minutes, all communication between Charnel Station and the outside galaxy was severed, trapping the pirates in an information vacuum. Communication blackout confirmed, Clark reported. Target is isolated and cannot request assistance. The psychological impact on the Ravager defenders was immediate and visible through intercepted internal communications. Pirate crews who had terrorized civilian ships found themselves cut off from their support networks, facing an enemy whose capabilities they couldn't assess or understand. Admiral Murphy then ordered the broadcast of a message on all Ravager frequencies, delivered in perfect Ravager dialect by Dr. Hayes, who had apparently studied their language extensively. The message was simple but loaded with implications that made Zexthri's scales shift with unease. "You took our children," Hayes spoke in the harsh clicking sounds of Ravager speech. "Now you learn why that was a mistake," the message continued, with detailed intelligence about Ravager operations throughout the sector, listing the names of pirate leaders, locations of hidden bases, and evidence of specific atrocities committed against civilian populations. Humans had compiled comprehensive dossiers on every significant pirate organization within 50 light-years. "We know where you live," the message concluded. "We know where your families live. We know everyone who has ever helped you. Choose your next actions carefully." Strike Team Leader Maria Santos led ground forces through the asteroid installation with surgical precision that demonstrated intimate knowledge of Ravager base construction and defensive protocols. They moved through corridors as if following a map, neutralizing resistance while preserving data storage systems for intelligence analysis. Section 7 secured, Santos reported as her team systematically cleared compartments. Multiple computer cores intact and ready for extraction. The assault was methodical and terrifying in its completeness. Humans didn't simply defeat the pirate base through superior firepower. They dismantled it piece by piece, cataloging equipment, documenting organizational structures, and gathering information about every Ravager operation in 3 sectors. Dr. Tim Rodriguez, the fleet's xenobiologist, collected genetic samples from captured pirates with research thoroughness that served strategic purposes. The biological data would enable positive identification of Ravager individuals across vast distances, eliminating their ability to hide among civilian populations. Genetic markers confirmed for Clan Bloodfang leadership, Rodriguez reported as he processed samples. Cross-referencing with intelligence databases now, Zexthri realized the humans weren't just attacking this particular pirate installation. They were gathering comprehensive intelligence about the entire Ravager species, treating individual pirates as data sources for understanding their civilization's military capabilities and social structures. The most chilling aspect was how systematically humans approached the psychological warfare component. They'd broadcast continuous updates about their progress to other Ravager bases throughout the sector, ensuring that every pirate organization understood the scope and efficiency of human military capabilities. Charnel Station neutralized came. The announcement transmitted on all pirate frequencies. 400 Ravager personnel processed. Complete organizational records recovered. Next target designated. Captain Kevin Wright led a task force that demonstrated the true scope of human strategic planning. Over the following weeks, they didn't simply hunt individual pirate ships, but systematically dismantled the entire support infrastructure that enabled Ravager operations, supply convoys, communication relays, recruitment centers, and even families of pirate leaders became strategic objectives. Humans approached asymmetric warfare with understanding that made Zextheri's species' military doctrine seem primitive by comparison. Target the entire ecosystem, Wright explained during a briefing that outlined operations across multiple star systems. Remove their ability to recruit, resupply, or coordinate, and individual pirate ships become irrelevant. The operations that followed were executed with precision that suggested years of planning. Human forces appeared simultaneously at dozens of locations, coordinating attacks across vast distances with timing that required sophisticated intelligence networks and communication systems. Zextheri accompanied the task force as they visited system after system, witnessing the systematic destruction of Ravager pirate capabilities. What had begun as a civilian rescue mission had evolved into something approaching genocide, conducted with scientific methodology and moral certainty. "How long have you been planning this?" Zextheri asked Admiral Murphy as they observed another successful operation. "Since the first time pirates attacked human civilians," Murphy replied. "We believe in being prepared." The scope of human preparation became clear as operations continued. They had infiltrated Ravager society, mapped their territories, and identified their weaknesses years before any direct confrontation. The rescue mission had simply provided justification for implementing plans that already existed. Most disturbing was the humans' capacity for switching between extreme violence and normal civilian behavior. After spending days methodically hunting pirates, Corporal Tracy Evans returned to reading bedtime stories to rescued children with the same gentle voice. She used to coordinate artillery strikes. The campaign concluded with evidence of systematic planning that spanned decades. Humans had been preparing for this moment since their first contact with galactic piracy, gathering intelligence and developing capabilities while maintaining the appearance of peaceful researchers and traders. Phase 2 complete, Admiral Murphy announced as the final Ravager stronghold surrendered. Threat neutralized and intelligence objectives achieved, but Zextheri realized that humans considered this merely the beginning of their message to the galaxy about the consequences of threatening their civilians. The final phase of human operations revealed depths of strategic thinking that fundamentally altered Zextheri's understanding of what civilized species were capable of achieving. Over the following months, he accompanied human forces as they implemented what they called the Ravager Solution, a comprehensive campaign designed to eliminate piracy as a viable profession throughout the local galactic region. Fleet. Admiral John Parker commanded the operation from the bridge of the newly commissioned dreadnought Unbreakable Will, a vessel that served as both practical warship and psychological weapon. The ship had been constructed using salvaged Ravager technology, its hull plating forged from metal taken from destroyed pirate vessels, powered by engines stripped from their former flagship. "Every component tells a story," Parker explained as he showed Zextheri through the ship. "When pirates see this vessel, they understand that we can turn their own strength against them." The Unbreakable Will represented something beyond simple military construction. It was a statement of human capabilities, demonstrating their ability to study, understand, and improve upon alien technology while simultaneously using the psychological impact of their enemies' defeats against surviving opponents. Captain Kevin Wright's task force had expanded into a comprehensive intelligence network that operated across dozens of star systems. Human agents had infiltrated not just pirate organizations, but the entire criminal ecosystem that supported their operations, gathering information about smuggling routes, black market suppliers, and corrupt officials. Traditional military operations. Target symptoms, Wright explained during a strategic briefing. "We're targeting the disease itself, the scope of human." Intelligence gathering was revealed through operations that went far beyond anything Zextheri had imagined possible. They had identified every individual who had ever provided material support to Ravager pirates. From weapon suppliers and fuel dealers to information brokers and corrupt port officials, Lieutenant Colonel Tracy Evans led operations that demonstrated human understanding of psychological warfare at levels that made conventional military doctrine obsolete. Her teams didn't simply eliminate pirate leaders but created systematic fear among their supporters through precisely calculated demonstrations of human capabilities. Fear is more efficient than violence, Evans explained as she coordinated operations across multiple systems. One properly planned demonstration prevents the need for dozens of conventional battles. The demonstrations she referred to were carefully orchestrated events designed to showcase human military capabilities while sending clear messages to potential pirate recruits. Entire Ravager bases would simply disappear overnight, leaving behind only perfectly organized evidence of their former occupants, crimes and detailed records of their associates' identities. Medical Officer Carlos Martinez had evolved his role beyond treating wounded humans to conducting comprehensive studies of Ravager psychology and biology. His research provided strategic advantages that enabled human forces to predict pirate behavior and exploit their psychological weaknesses with scientific precision. Understanding how they think allows us to control how they react, Martinez explained as he analyzed behavioral patterns. We can make them choose the responses that serve our strategic objectives. The most disturbing aspect of human operations was their systematic approach to eliminating not just active pirates but the entire social structure that enabled piracy. They targeted recruitment methods, destroyed training facilities, and eliminated the economic incentives that attracted individuals to criminal careers. Sergeant Pete Johnson led teams that gathered intelligence from every captured pirate facility, creating comprehensive databases of organizational structures, operational methods, and individual personnel records. The information was then used to identify and eliminate pirate cells across vast distances. Every piece of data becomes ammunition for future operations, Johnson explained as his teams processed captured intelligence. We're not fighting individual battles, but conducting systematic war against an entire criminal culture. The campaign reached its climax with a galaxy-wide broadcast transmitted simultaneously to every known pirate organization and criminal syndicate. Admiral Parker delivered the message from the Bridge of Unbreakable Will, speaking in multiple alien languages with perfect pronunciation. This is Admiral John Parker of the Human Defense Force, the message began. Over the past 6 months, we have eliminated the Ravager Pirate Confederation, dismantled their support networks, and gathered comprehensive intelligence about criminal organizations throughout this region. The broadcast continued with detailed evidence of human capabilities, including tactical analyses of defeated pirate forces, intelligence summaries about surviving criminal organizations, and strategic assessments that demonstrated intimate knowledge of galactic underworld operations. We have identified every individual who profits from attacks on civilian populations, Parker announced. We know your names, your locations, your associates, and your weaknesses. The message concluded with an ultimatum that chilled Zex-3's blood with its simple clarity. Earth remembers, Earth protects its own. Any organization that targets human civilians or the civilians of our allies will be systematically eliminated. Find new professions. The response was immediate and dramatic. Pirate organizations throughout? The sector began dissolving as individual crews sought legitimate employment or fled to distant regions beyond human influence. Criminal syndicates that had operated for centuries suddenly found their membership abandoning ship rather than risk human attention. How did you achieve such comprehensive intelligence penetration? Zex-3 asked Dr. Hayes as they reviewed the campaign's results. We've been preparing since our first contact with galactic civilization, Hayes replied. Every trade mission, every diplomatic exchange, every cultural visit included intelligence-gathering components, the revelation that humans had been systematically studying galactic criminal organizations for decades. While maintaining the appearance of peaceful newcomers fundamentally altered Zex-3's assessment of their species. They had approached galactic integration as a military intelligence operation disguised as cultural exchange. Most unsettling was the way Humans approach violence as a technical problem requiring efficient solutions rather than an unfortunate necessity. They planned operations with the same methodical approach they brought to terraforming projects, treating systematic elimination of enemies as another form of environmental management. The campaign's success was measured not just in destroyed pirate bases but in fundamental changes to galactic criminal behavior. Piracy rates dropped by 80% within a year as word spread about human capabilities and willingness to use them against anyone who threatened civilian populations. In his final report to the Valonian Confederation, Zex-3 struggled to find words that adequately described what he had witnessed. "I came to study a species that appeared unremarkable among the galactic community," he wrote. "I discovered instead a form of warfare so systematic, so psychologically sophisticated, and so strategically comprehensive that it defies comparison with any military doctrine in our records." The report continued with detailed analysis of human capabilities that read more like a threat assessment than a diplomatic evaluation. Humans approach warfare as applied research, treating their enemies as problems requiring permanent solutions. They combine technological superiority with intelligence, gathering capabilities and psychological warfare methods that make conventional military resistance effectively impossible. Zex-3's final log entry captured the essence of what made humans truly terrifying. They are not the galaxy's strongest species, nor the fastest, nor the most technologically advanced. They are something far more dangerous. They are the galaxy's most patient and thorough problem solvers, and they have convinced themselves that criminal violence represents a problem requiring systematic solution. The story concluded with Zex-3 requesting immediate reassignment to a different sector as far from human space as possible, his final observations serving as a warning to other galactic civilizations. "I stood beside humans and witnessed what they call righteous anger. The galaxy should pray it never sees what they might call necessary war."